Seems to me like there's always some sort of sex scandal involving politicians, and political party doesn't seem to have a whole hell of a lot to do with it. For example, about the same time that we learned that the female prosecutor in the Georgia Trump election case, a Democrat, has been having an affair with an attorney she brought on to help out, the Florida Republican chair was fired because he and his wife engaged in a threesome, and the other woman involved accused him of rape. So I thought it would be appropriate to have a look at what makes Republicans and Democrats tick when it comes to sex. What do members of each party like to do in the bedroom, or shower, or anywhere else? To answer that question, we brought a real expert today on our show. She's Madam Bella Cummins, who has for years owned and operated a legal brothel in the rural community of Wells, Nevada. She surveyed some of her politically transparent bordello clients to find out what they like. So stay with us.
Welcome to Lean to the Left, home of no-holds-barred commentary, plus interviews with fascinating people. Some of them top experts, others simply with interesting stories to tell. You'll never know who'll show up at Lean to the Left. Now here's your host, Bob Gaddy.
Bella Cummins, who wants to be known as America's Madam, is America's longest-serving, living, legal brothel owner as the proprietor and operator of Bella's Hacienda Ranch. She says her adult entertainment destination in Northeast Nevada provides a safe and lawful option for sex workers to prosperously practice their trade, and for customers from across the globe to enjoy their favors. Bella's offers many exclusive amenities, including VIP accommodations and a selection of erotic specialty rooms where her clients can go to explore their fantasies. The 74-year-old Cummins also founded the Onesta Foundation, a nonprofit organization with a mission to support Nevada sex workers and advocate for legalization of prostitution nationwide. More on the Onesta Foundation can be found at onestafoundation.org. Hey, Bella, thanks so much for joining us on our podcast today.
Thank you, Robert. I'm happy to be here, really.
I'm glad you are, because I'm glad to have you with us. This is a little bit of a different type of a show today, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Can you tell us a little bit about Bella's Hacienda Ranch? How did you come to purchase it, and why, and what do you guys do there?
I actually married into it slightly.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which meant there were a lot of mortgages.
Okay.
And the gentleman that I married, eventually he did get sick and died of cancer.
Oh.
But in the meantime, he just thought that it was going to be something that would generate income, and we'd be silent partners. We wouldn't have to do anything except, how about count money?
Yeah, okay. Count the money, that's always good.
It really doesn't work that way, Robert.
Oh, yeah.
It's like it's a business. It's an industry.
Oh.
And of course, in 1970, when the Nevada legislature put it in a code format and said it's up to the rural counties because they didn't want it in the cities, it put, his name was David, and I in a situation where, as a silent partner, it wasn't going to work. It had basically tapped us out of money.
Oh.
And you know how things change, and there was an interstate that was being built. Took, of course, many decades, but it was Interstate 80. And so when David thought this was a brilliant idea for our retirement fund, I-80 had blockades at every small rural town on each end. Travelers had to get off and get back on the other end of town. And that decade was designed to give town the opportunity to determine how they were going to thrive and or survive.
Okay.
So when he decided this was just a great investment, it was standing room only.
Okay.
And then it's like signing on the dotted line for 3 mortgages. The barricades came down, and we're standing there looking at a building that needed some work, and you could have shot off a cannon and not hit anybody because people didn't have to come through wells
Anymore.
no. And so it was like we had to reinvent ourselves.
Wow.
Oh, along came the let's use the CB radio.
Uh,
So that goes back to the 80s, right? When if you had a micro minivan, you had a CB. If you had anything that with wheels, you had a CB radio installed. Truckers had the radio. And we went from nobody in there to, and it took a while, but to a packed parking lot.
okay.
But the point was that it cost us everything. And the individuals that were really supposed to carry the load got involved in things that weren't really good.
Okay.
So we went through that process of saying, okay, we're taking over. And David needed for me to step up. I needed to understand the book work. How did this thing work? What were the finances? What did it cost to turn the key in the door? So I did. And then from there, I wasn't a madam at that point, and I probably did everything wrong so many times. But I guess that's the way you learn the most. But
Okay.
eventually, when David passed away, the reins went into my hands, and I needed to understand humanity. I needed to understand how fragile we were. And so I was put in a place where I was like the bartender, the hostess, the cleaner, the everything. And I began to evolve and understand probably the only real reason to be in these bodies is for touch. And couldn't we learn to do it correctly? Meaning never manipulating another. So this is how far I am 37 years later.
Okay, so that's how you ended up being in charge of the thing. Now, did you end up having to work in the thing as a prostitute yourself?
No,
You didn't.
no.
Okay. And so over the years, how many sex workers have you employed there, and how many customers have you served, do you think?
Robert, it's an astronomical amount.
Really?
Oh my gosh. If in the very beginning, before the hacienda expanded, we put on a wing in 2002, it was up and running. You could have 4 to 8 women. All
Uh-huh.
right. So let's just say there were always 4 at
Mhm.
that time and up and for the first 15 years. And the gentleman that would come through the door, if there could be 25, there could be 30, there could be thousands. And of
Right.
course, the number in the men is astronomically bigger
Uh-huh.
than the number of women that
Uh-huh.
have actually influenced.
Okay. Okay. So the women that come and work there, typically, do they, how long do they stay? Are they 3, 4 years, or what do they do?
It's a profession that needs about half a year in service and about half a year of rest. And so I believe that it's pretty close to four 4 years coming in and out on what we call a tour, which would mean 2 or 3 or 4 weeks
Mhm.
of being a courtesan, and
Mhm.
then let's say a few weeks off. And
Okay.
and the idea is it's a short career.
Okay. Okay. Now, do these people get paid a salary, or do they get paid a portion of the percentage, or how does that work?
The way it works is it's a split with the house.
Okay.
All right. And it's a split with the house because the house has longevity
Hmm.
and it markets for them. It
Sure.
does the safety, the screening, the everything, so
Hmm.
that it's the opposite of working, let's say, outside of a brothel where you're everything. You're your
Hmm.
marketer, your advertiser, the
Right.
all of that. So in and then of course it's really interesting, but for the time spent with a client, dollar amount exchanged between the client and the courtesan is probably 3 or 4 times what they would normally get for a session in an illegal situation.
Okay.
So they make more even splitting with the house than they would.
Okay. Okay. That's interesting to know. Now, you did this survey of customers to find out what they liked in terms of what Republicans like and what Democrats like.
Yes.
Why did you do that? Why? Just
Well,
curious or what?
first of all, part of the process of
Yeah.
gathering this, we'll call it rather informal data, because there's no names mentioned or anything. Identities are kept confidential.
Uh-huh.
But there was a rule. You
Mhm.
had to have voted. And if
Okay.
you didn't vote,
Really?
your preference didn't count.
Oh, I see. They had to vote in order to participate in the survey, not to be
Yes.
a customer.
No.
You didn't say, hey, you can't come here if you choose.
No. But then we wouldn't let them complain either. You didn't vote, you don't get to complain, and we don't care what you like. Or
Well,
we just cheat.
why would they complain about politics? They're there to have sex. Why?
Certain little things come up in
Okay.
conversations.
Really?
And
They
yeah,
come
it's
up,
like,
huh?
yeah, they'll come in and they'll say something about, whoever it was. It didn't matter whether, it was
Okay.
Trump or Biden or whatever. It's like
Right.
everybody's got these ideas. And so
Uh,
it made it easy, but it made it fun
okay.
because they could tell their truth and no one would ever.
Okay. So they're expressing these opinions and making these comments to the courtesan.
Sometimes to the person behind the bar.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. I got it. Sure.
you'll catch me
Yeah,
behind the
yeah,
bar, and
yeah, yeah. Okay.
that's where I stay connected. That's where I see how people are
Okay.
evolving, and like we have to remember the pandemic.
Right, for
The
sure.
pandemic was in there,
Hmm.
and when I said 2020, from September 19th, I believe it was, in 2019,
Yeah.
I was an escort service granted by the city of Wells. So between what we call September 2019 and July of 2020, my escorting, there was conversation. We had to watch movies. It was time and companionship. And there was a lot of communication about what they'd like to do. What would their favorite be without it actually happening? And so it was
Okay.
a great part of the survey because time and companionship and people need people, and to have a drink or to talk to somebody, or it had nothing to do with intercourse, but it had to do with what they thought, what they
Okay.
preferred to experience. And I thought that was worth doing, this sort of this amazing
Oh,
impromptu chart.
that's really interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
it
Yeah.
springboarded off our
Okay.
governor closing us down as non-essential. And
Right.
so my point was, you're saying that being human is non-essential.
Uh-huh.
Oh, good. Oh, good. I don't think
Okay.
that's true, but a box
Okay.
store is.
Okay.
And so I just thought it was like I'm going to say in a way more serious than tongue in cheek.
Did they try to close you down?
Oh, they
Saying you,
did.
oh, they closed you down.
They closed us.
Oh,
It was
okay.
like 7 months.
Oh, wow. Because I was going to
And
say
then
it'd be hard for somebody to come in there and experience certain sexual activities if they had to have a mask on.
when the door closes, but when
That's
we
true.
were the escort service, okay,
Right.
that was our people had to sign an affidavit that they understood it was time and companionship and that they were
Mhm.
disease free and all of these things. And it isn't, I don't think it's mandatory, but I don't quote me on this, that escort has to medically test. But because the city of Wells was struggling so much financially, as
Mhm.
many rurals were, I said, look, the ladies will continue to test that are under the roof. And it was good. So it stimulated the doctor, and people went to the hotels, and they restaurants, at least they could do the carry out, and they bought fuel. So it did bring money back into town, making that switch temporarily. But you remember, other brothels were closed for, I believe it was 12 or 13 months.
Oh, wow.
But I just had to follow my intuition that it was going to be unhealthy for people to be separated from people. And I was right. It still has that effect.
Okay. All right. Let's get into your survey. What did you find? What do Republicans like more than Democrats, and vice versa when it comes to sex?
Interesting. If I was doing another graph right now, I would say that the GFE is still a really big deal.
The what?
Or girlfriend experience. Sorry.
Okay.
We've got our little abbreviations, right?
Sure.
But if I was to just take apart the dynamic, it seems like the Democrats are a little more serious, a little more controlling, like whether it's the oral sex or things like that, where they're a little more uptight at times sexually.
I would have thought it the other way.
There seems to be more of a behind the closed door where they just still want to be in control. And that's okay. That's okay. But when the Republicans, it's like a little more fun. We got some role playing. They still like that deep intimacy, but they seem to weave it into a little more of a fantasy.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just amazing to watch us as people.
Okay.
And yet the idea of the safe sexual satisfying of one's appetite is the same for Democrats and Republicans alike that visit Bella's. And I'm no matter what the political persuasion, you see the appetites.
Okay.
And you see that happy face ear to ear as they are departing the building. And that's the fun part.
Okay.
And in all honesty, foot fetish is on the rise. I'm not
Really?
sure why. Yeah, I'm not sure why, but it's like just soft, well manicured feet, and it's wonderful to see some of these things as they evolve.
No kidding.
And yes,
so people get off playing with feet. Is that right?
with feet, yeah, it's a.
I never thought that.
Well, you're not a foot guy.
Oh no, I'm not a foot guy. No, that's
whether it's the breasts or the shape of a gal's body or a larger backside. I didn't even get into that.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Get into it.
So,
tell me about it.
But it's like too many graphs. So I only did one graph. It's gentlemen are that way.
Okay.
They whatever it is, if they're a boob guy, they're a boob guy.
Okay.
But I don't see guys that are the backside and a boob guy. It's one or the other.
Oh, one or the other, huh? Which do Republicans like more, the boobs or the butt?
Boobs.
The boobs. They like the boobs. Okay. How about the Democrats? They like the boobs or the butt?
They lean up, and it's still close, but it's more of that rounded backside, and maybe it gives them more motion.
Oh, yeah? Really?
Maybe.
Okay.
Remember, we aren't behind the closed door, but they all leave very happy.
That's a good thing. Okay, so tell me this. You mentioned role play a minute ago. What do Republicans like the most in terms of playing a role? And the same question would be for Democrats.
What I see is more of the cartoon-like role playing, where it's a little funny. Those type of costumes, and then when you get to the Democrats, it's a little more serious.
Really?
Maybe it's not like cartoonish, but it seems a little more like it has a little more drama to it. Just a little more.
All right. I was just wondering, because the Republicans are all about law and order, so they say. They used to say anyway, until this late. Never mind. But they used to be all about law and order. Now, do they like to dress up As cops or
Now we haven't had that.
oh, you haven't
We
had
have
that.
no,
Okay.
not the hands up.
Oh man. Do you guys provide the outfits for them to put on, or do they bring their own?
I answer the emails for a lot of clients because there so many come in, and if
Oh,
they really have a character that
okay.
they want the lady to portray,
All right.
I always suggest that they bring the costume,
Okay. For the
right?
lady. For the
Yes,
lady?
for the
Okay.
lady, and then they've got their
They
part of
got
their
their
costume
they got
anyway.
their own.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, and I'm just going to say this, and I know that this sometimes makes people go, "Oh my God, why would
Hmm.
anybody do this?" But in the survey, there was pegging.
Yeah.
It's on the rise.
A lot of people don't know what that is. As a matter of fact,
Well,
I would just have to tell you, I had to look it up. So,
do we tell them to look it up, or do we just say strap on? And
who
when
does so the lady does the strap on and she does it to the guy using the strap on. Is that
yes,
no, okay. All right.
yes.
Okay.
And here's how
And
I answer the
I'll bet
email.
you the Republicans like that more than the Democrats. Is that true?
It was pretty close.
Oh, was it?
It was pretty close.
No
But
kidding.
here's I know the ladies do it. Because everything people choose to experience is done with protection, and it's part of fulfilling fantasies in a legal, licensed way. In
Hmm.
other words, so my answer to these clients is very simple. Yes, we do. Please bring the size dildo that you prefer.
Okay.
And that way belongs to them. We can
Okay.
provide the condoms
Okay.
and they can take it with them.
Okay. All right. Do you have, what about oral sex? Which party likes oral sex more than the other?
The Democrats.
The
But
Democrats.
once again, it was close.
It was close. Do you really think that there's any difference? I know you did the survey and you have these results, but human beings are human beings. Do you really think there's a difference between the parties?
We are more similar than different.
Yeah, that's what I think too.
And but it's a great fun and yet somewhat, I'm going to say real, I'm going to say situation.
Mm.
And yet I believe that the real wonderful thing about fantasies and this platform that Nevada has
Mm.
for it being legal within a location, a
Right.
house, is that it doesn't matter what it is, it can be done safely.
Okay. Just to clarify, in Nevada, it's legal in certain prostitution's legal in certain places, but not. I would have thought that it's legal in Las Vegas, but it's not, right?
No, no. And I found this out yesterday, and I wish it were different. I wish that the NRS code had districts in Reno and Las Vegas where this
Hmm.
adult, safe, uh, definitely regulated way of having people engage in sensual sexual activities was border to border.
Hmm.
And an article came out just this morning that's talking about the real concern now that Vegas has all these stadiums down there and the Super Bowl is going to be down there.
Hmm.
And what's this going to do to trafficking? And what's this going to do to all the illegal activity and all these visitors that think, oh, it's legal in
Yeah,
Nevada.
right.
It
Right.
isn't true.
Yeah.
They made sure that as Vegas's population grew, that the restriction for population and having a
Mhm.
legal licensed location was below 400,000.
Mhm.
Now they just keep raising it. Now it's 700,000. So it's a manipulation in Nevada that really doesn't make us a state
Mhm.
where it's legal everywhere. And we know why. I also learned that and I thought it was number one, but I'm corrected that Las Vegas is number two for sex trafficking in the United States.
Wow.
But it's virtually impossible, Robert, to have sex trafficking as a legal courtesan because the regulations read all the criteria that they go through in order to be a legal licensed entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
And it does include fingerprints and state licensing and city licensing and applications and, of course, medical testing weekly.
Mm-hmm.
But and valid ID and social security card. There's so many regulations. It's almost impossible to be trafficked. It's too
Okay.
much.
Yeah. Okay. It just occurred to me that I used to go to Las Vegas quite a bit on business. And I remember one time I was in a casino. I was sitting at a little ice cream place just off the casino floor. And I thought to myself, I wonder how long it'll take for me to be propositioned by a hooker while I'm sitting here eating my ice cream.
How
And
far down in the cup did you get?
it took about 5 minutes. Three came over, one after the other. And so I assumed it was legal.
No,
Yeah,
no. And
amazing.
if
So
we talk about,
they just
if we
worked
talk,
there
yeah,
illegally.
and there's no documents, there's no regulations
Right,
that are for women that are choosing to work outside of a brothel.
right. So guys in a casino, I'm talking about guys now that are in a casino, and they're propositioned by a hooker. They decide to take that person up on their offer. They're really risking their health by doing that because those people are not tested. They're not, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
And you don't want to take something home.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And the protection, we're just at a time in history where no matter who you are, unless you're really in a relationship that's
Yeah.
monogamous, condoms have to be mandatory.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Any ideas why so many politicians get in trouble over sex?
I believe that they they fall into, I'm going to say, a group of people that have done things, I'm going to say sexually, and there was no penalty for doing it. I'm going to get into that Jeffrey Epstein thing and didn't get in trouble.
Yeah.
And they have money. And if you look at politicians, they all seem to wind up with money. But remember that line that we learned sometime in growing up? It said, you become your five closest friends. That's who you begin to follow. And if that's what they're around, each individual every day, and somebody says, hey, guess what did? And nothing happens. They
Yeah.
just it's all that two-tier system, and God help us if you and I did something like that, we'd be under the jail.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
there's no penalty. And that's the corrupt part that tarnishes our ability to like really enjoy this life
Hmm.
and to never manipulate another.
Okay. Tell us about the Onesta Foundation and what you guys do.
It is self-funded right now, and of course it can use donations, but my intention is to help, I'm going to say, people that want to know what the industry is about, to have a place they can go to learn more. I
Mhm.
also never believe that people should become criminals. It's associated with sex.
Mhm.
I don't think that's the right thing to do. I don't believe in the Nordic law. And so the Onesta is basically me working to put in writing and update as often as I'm able the idea, why decriminalization won't work and being pro courtesan rights. And remember, courtesan is still a word that means prostitute, but you can't take someone that's jumped through all of these hoops to be legal and label them a prostitute.
Right.
There's got to be a distinction, a differentiation between a worker with no documents or paperwork or licensing or medical evaluations from someone that's in service and saying, I'm going to do this.
Right. Understand. Okay. But the Onesta Foundation does support legalization of prostitution, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, but because that word hasn't changed yet.
Okay.
All right, but that's a very archaic word that
Mhm.
sounds harsh. And Robert, I don't believe the term should be sex worker, which is why I'm still petitioning the city council to, and of course, they're supposedly going over the code to change a few words with their legal department. And it's really to help, if I'm going to be that spokesperson for having locations in, let's say, rural areas of other states, that people understand that the sex industry
Mhm.
is like the biggest elephant you've ever seen. And the only avenue that's been tested and proven to work has been in small rural communities of Nevada.
Okay.
And we don't have HIV or syphilis, which is, by the way, on the rise because of out there. But the people that visit Bella's and, let's say, other brothels,
Mhm.
they're clean. They want to stay clean.
Okay. So when you are advocating for legalization, you're advocating legalization in locations like Bella's, not streetwalkers.
Correct.
Okay, understood. All right. And you say that regulations need to accompany decriminalization. What type of regulations are you talking about? Health, for example?
Yes. Health regulations, being able to, I'm going to say, document who you are, and let's just say you aren't trafficked. You are a person that's making this decision to have a courtesan on a work card as your
Mhm.
profession, and that you've made this choice yourself, and you understand that what it takes, the weekly testing and fingerprinting and an application to the sheriff's department, so that, and of course eventually a work card, so that everything, I's and T's, have been dotted and crossed to keep the profession from having illegal activities.
Now, the people that want to work for Bella's, you get a lot of applications from women that want to come there and work. And also, do you have men that work there?
No,
Okay.
no. And the reason being that rural Nevada it isn't real flexible about men being in service.
I understand.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
And so when the code was written, it was about women who were born a woman.
I got it. Sex work is dangerous. I know that. You have stats that show that. Talk to me a little bit about that, though. And isn't it the unregulated, independent sex worker who is more likely to be in a vulnerable situation, unsafe situation than someone that would work at a place like Bella's, for example?
Absolutely. When a gentleman or a lady or just a client comes in, they're stepping into our world, our energy, and they're going to be nervous because maybe they've never done something like this. And so what we do is we work to make them as comfortable as they allow initially and help them in that process of understanding they're safe, that this is, as much as we can share with them, that they can retain, because there's something about sexual activity that kind of shuts the ears off, that to help them realize that it's a good thing that they came in. On the other side, the flip side, if a lady was going into a man's home or apartment or hotel room, she's the one that should be nervous.
Yeah, for sure. With the immigration issues that are taking place today, and you have all this influx coming from the southern border, which Nevada is on, are you getting illegals that want to come in and work for you?
Zero.
Oh.
None.
Okay.
And I believe it's because there's an application people fill out. And then right now, they just don't come to the door and apply.
Right. Yeah. You don't have a sign that says walk-in applicants. Or... Okay.
No.
Okay. All right. Do you really see this country legalizing and regulating prostitution, given the outsized influence of the right-wing Christian conservatives on government policy these days? I just can't see. I can't see Mitch McConnell saying, "Oh yeah, let's do this."
Probably no. Probably no.
Yeah.
For Mitch. However,
How about the guy that took over as Speaker of the House? He's a young guy. I don't know. He wears glasses though.
maybe maybe it's a mask of a geek-like appearance.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know. Who knows?
No, he probably does.
Yeah.
But there's something interesting about the location of Bella's, all right, and even the community.
Okay.
All right, the community is very religious.
Oh, is it really? Okay.
Yeah, there's many different denominations, right?
Uh-huh.
And of course, we have Utah, the most sexually repressed state in the union. And then north, we have one that's fast becoming one of those.
Really?
And we're on the crossroads of the Western United States and right on I-80 there, right there, first exit in Elko. Another great big cement, what do you call it? It's religious building.
Oh, okay. Church?
And yeah, it's a religious temple.
Okay.
It's a temple.
Got it.
And at any rate, even in Wells, those beautiful citizens keep their judgments to themselves.
Okay.
And they have a really good idea how helpful we are to the community.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't want to be asked.
So
don't ask them.
So you're involved with the community.
I'm aware of the community.
Oh,
all right.
okay.
And because of my, I'm going to call it longevity, silver hair. And I've just been on the bus for so long. I've been there longer than the people that are now in power.
Okay.
So it can't get rid of me. God won't let me off the bus.
All right.
And until and it would be great if it was a young woman that had a lot of money and came and said, Belle, thanks, you've done a great job here. Let me give you time to go to the beach and do some other fun things that you want to do. But right now, it seems as though me being able to speak up with authority and the wisdom behind this time in life that I've arrived at, that says, leaders, politicians, please don't think you're being pro-sex worker. You're being pro-business. I was in the financial section of the New York Times a couple months ago. And what the milestone is, it was the financial section. They were realizing it's a real industry, a real business that operates, and yet as the biggest industry in the world, why not collect the tax money? Why not create public safety? Why not, with syphilis on the rise out there, why not get this under control?
Yeah. Okay. All right. Do you have anything? We've gone well over our normal. You got anything else you want to talk about?
If anyone wants to donate to the Onesta Foundation, you can definitely reach me. Of course, the bellas.us is the website. But right now, the Hacienda MGR at bellas.us is the best way. And I will get back to anyone reaching out.
Okay.
And stop in and visit. Get your questions answered.
Okay.
There's no obligation, no cover charge.
Okay. That's good to know. That's good to know. Bella, thank you. I've really enjoyed talking to you and exploring this mysterious world of sex and politics.
Yes, let's be pro-business.
Okay. All right,
Thank
Bella.
you, Robert.
Thank you,
Robert.
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this Lean to the Left video and that you found it interesting and informative. Please come back on a regular basis and check out our interviews with guests on topics that focus on progressive politics and the important social issues of our time. Our interview shows stream on Mondays and sometimes Thursdays, and you can check out upcoming shows, guests, and topics at podcast.leantotheleft.net. And you can subscribe to our interview version there and to our video shows here at YouTube. And follow us on social media, Twitter at LeanToTheLeft1, Instagram at LeanToTheLeft1, TikTok at LeanToTheLeft, and LinkedIn at Bob Gaddy. Now, I hope you'll support Lean to the Left too, so we can keep things going. Just click on the Donate tab at the top of the LeanToTheLeft.net homepage and contribute by buying me a cup of coffee. That'll really help and would be much, much appreciated. Now, this is Bob Gaddy signing off for Lean to the Left. Thanks for sharing your time with us.